All right, guys, hopefully we won't have any more technical problems. My third video ended abruptly, so let me see if I can get through the rest of this. Now, what I ended up on was you have a struggle for power between Cixi and Guangxu. Okay, and in Guangxu, he's representing and trying to promote a lot of the ideas of the self-strengthening movement, while Cixi is more conservative, very anti-Western. And we need to see how these two basically duke it out. All right. Now, Guangxu is the emperor, so that's to his advantage, and he is going to issue what are called the 100 Days Reform Edicts, which are very heavily based on ideas of the self-strengthening movement. So let's talk about some of the things he did. The first move was to, again, reform education. And when we're talking about education, we're talking about that civil service exam. He's going to redo the civil service exam. He's going to eliminate things like poetry and calligraphy. Although it is very nice to write pretty, and although it can be very useful to recite poetry, it's not going to help them really solve the European problem. So really is a refocus on governmental rule. How do we rule as a Chinese government in the education system, in the civil service exam? Also in Beijing, there is a new medical college. And at that Beijing college, that new medical college is really based on ideas and medical techniques that were being used in Western Europe and the United States. And look, all the Confucian academies that had been dominant for so long, going all the way back to maybe Wu Ti, you have to incorporate Western learning as well. So even like the strict Confucian academies are starting to be infused with Western ideas. Now, of course, Cixi is not going to just, sit back and take this willingly. She is going to have Guangxu confined to the palace. She's like, oh, you want to assert control? Well, I'm going to have you confined to the palace. Also, she issues this proclamation saying, oh yeah, by the way, China, Guangxu gave me the power to rule, so you should just listen to me. And she had a lot of those people that implemented the 100 Days Reform Edicts, implemented ideas of the self-strengthening movement. She had them executed. Or bare minimum, they went into exile to avoid execution. Now, like I said, that still does not stop the Europeans from coming in. I mean, we're going to have even more European. Germany is going to come in and start taking some ports. So it's not like, Cixi is being successful in stopping the Western Europeans. So the next recourse for the Chinese is that many of these Chinese are starting to create and form secret societies. They're going underground. And the most famous one is going to be the Society of the Righteous and Harmonious Fist. Now, look, the Europeans will just call them boxers instead of the Society of the Righteous and Harmonious Fist, because a lot of times they were identified with doing martial arts, like almost like a gang. But it's their purpose that's more important. They were very anti-Western, very traditionally Chinese. They want the Europeans out. They want European influence out. And of course, Cixi is going to do everything she can to, really secretly support these guys. So in 1898, we have what's known as the Boxer Rebellion. The Society of the Righteous and Harmonious Fist, the Boxers, they begin attacking Christian missionaries and killing Christian missionaries. They begin attacking Western European businesses in China. They begin attacking railroads. Anything that has like the smell or the smack of like Western Europeans, they go and kill. Now remember, they're just killing businessmen or they're killing missionaries. They're not dealing with a European government or the army of a European government. There will be a retaliation by the Europeans. So we're going to see that once again, the Europeans, and really it's the Europeans and the Americans, they are going to go and put down the Boxer Rebellion. And to be honest, they put it down quite easily. And of course, in response, we're going to see that the Europeans will demand another treaty from the Qing government. They're going to say, look, you want to rebel? Well, okay, well, now you're going to be suffering even more, okay? So the Qing are forced to sign another treaty, and they're forced to pay 450 million ounces of silver, which is more than twice China's annual revenue, to the Europeans, which only further weakens China. Now, let me kind of sidestep here. During the troubles of the 19th century, and I think as we talked about it, there are a lot of troubles going on in the 19th century, okay? A lot of the Chinese left China. They're like, we're bouncing. We don't want to be anymore. It's unsafe, man. We're going to die. So, maybe sometimes they're going to Vietnam or Thailand, or they're going to British colonies or Dutch colonies. Now, in some places, these people who are leaving China, they mix and they incorporate themselves in a new society. In other places, they create enclaves where it's like, well, we're coming over here, we're migrating over here, we don't want to mix with the dominant population, and we'll just create our own little thing. And that very much happened like in the Philippines. For you guys, the big thing is also they went into the United States. Now, of course, when they go to the United States, really your first thought should be they're going to work on the railroads. And absolutely, they are going to work on the railroads. In the United States, the Chinese coming to the West Coast, they were used as a cheap source of labor. But also, too, besides railroads, they could be indentured servants for mining or even plantation work. Okay? Now, going back to China in 1905, the civil service exam is killed altogether. They see no use